A huge thank you to patron Owl73 for suggesting today's video topic. If you want to suggest a topic for next Wednesday's Name Explain video, then all you have to do is support Name Explain on Patreon for $1 a month. Find out more by visiting patreon.com/Name Explain, which will be linked down below. Anyway, heteronyms are some of the most annoying words in English. They are words which are spelled the same but sound different when said out loud. In many cases, the two words are completely unrelated. Think of tear, as in the water droplets that appear when you cry, versus tear, as in ripping a piece of paper in two, polish, as in cleaning something, and Polish, as in someone from the country of Poland, or even close, as in being near to one another, and close, as in to shut something like a door or window. The word heteronym unto itself is made from the old word-forming elements of hetero, meaning different, and nym, meaning name, as they are names and words which sound different to one another. Heteronyms can prove themselves to be incredibly confusing to people learning English, whether that be kids learning as a first tongue, while still coming to grips with the language, or adults who are picking up English as a second language. When presented solely in their written form, there's no way to tell these words apart from one another, other than relying on the context it is used in. And for someone learning the tongue, that might prove challenging. Someone might rock up at the Bass Pro Shop hoping to get some new strings for their double bass and be severely disappointed. There are all kinds of ways in which we could kick heteronyms to the curb and expel them from English forever. We could simply change the spelling of words, or even do something as simple as adding accent marks to English, something I've advocated for in a video in the past. Maybe, however, I'm being a tad too negative. Maybe heteronyms aren't all doom and gloom. In one case, heteronyms are far from annoying. In these upcoming examples, they can prove to actually be pretty helpful and incredibly interesting. This is when we use the exact same word but in a different word class, specifically using the same word as either a noun or a verb. We all know what a noun and a verb is, right? Nouns being names for things and verbs being words for actions. These two kinds of words have become tied to one another, and when we use a noun as a verb, one of three things tend to happen. In many cases, the word doesn't change at all, in either spelling or pronunciation. Take run. It's the same regardless of how we use it. Using it as a noun, we could say something like, there is a run tomorrow morning on the beach. And using it as a verb, we could say, the dog likes to run. We can see there's been literally no change to the word in any way, shape or form. The second option is when the word does change spelling and pronunciation. Normally a suffix gets added to the verb form. In example, terror is a noun, as in, the monkey proved to be a terror on the plane. But when used as a verb, we say terrorize, as in, the monkey decided to terrorize everyone on the plane. Man, who thought making a monkey a pilot was a good idea? But anyway. Then we have our third option, the one we're actually here to talk about. This is when the spelling of the word doesn't change, but the pronunciation does, aka a heteronym. Take this word in example. If we say it as a noun, we say project, while if we say it as a verb, we instead say project. Did you catch that? In the grand scheme of things, it's an incredibly subtle difference, but there's a difference nonetheless. When said as a noun, the first syllable is slightly more stressed, but when said as a verb, the latter syllable becomes more prominent. Project isn't the only word in which this happens. There's a plethora of two-syllable words which follow this pattern of the first syllable being stressed as a noun and the second syllable being stressed as a verb. Take contest the noun and contest the verb, or object the noun and object the verb, subject the noun and subject the verb, convict the noun and convict the verb, rebel the noun and rebel the verb, and permit the noun and permit the verb. It's more subtle in some cases, and I'm probably emphasizing it a lot more here, but I'm sure you're all starting to notice it and realizing that you yourself do it too. This is one of those things I really love about language. Something that's actually really complex, but also incredibly subtle. And when you notice it, you realize just how much you do it when talking and communicating. But at the same time, we do it without really thinking. It's just ingrained into us. Most native English speakers will always stress the correct syllable and subconsciously know what pronunciation to use for a word, depending on it being a noun or a verb. Take this sentence an example. Most English speakers will correctly pronounce it as, I had to project my voice while sharing my class project. And when you say it the other way around, I had to project my voice when sharing my class project, you will notice just how wrong it sounds. Okay, granted, it doesn't sound incredibly weird, but I'm sure you'll get the idea. We have certain ways of saying certain words, and most of the time we aren't even aware we are following these rules of language. A key question that arises when realizing this pronunciation rule is, why exactly do we do this with these words? And in all honesty, there isn't a straight up answer. answer. It appears to just be something that happened naturally among language. It's not like linguists from across the globe came together and decided that this was going to be the case. It was most likely an unconscious effort by humans in the past to help guide and navigate words when we say them aloud to help each other understand what exactly was being said. Most of the time, spoken language isn't created with formal rules or anything like that. Written language, meanwhile, tends to be where rules and whatnot fall into place. And it's via writing these words that they become heteronyms. This is some of the most interesting use of heteronyms by a long shot. Despite how annoying and tricky heteronyms can be, in this case they're actually pretty darn useful. They can help people when speaking understand what kind of class a word is being used in. And unlike other heteronyms like tear and tear, in these cases the words have the exact same meaning, just a different word class. So it feels more acceptable for them to have the same spelling as they are so linked to one another. The spelling in these cases highlight that the words are linked to one another, while the pronunciation guides people along into fully understanding what class it belongs to. And unlike other heteronyms, once again like tear and tear, which could easily have alternative spellings, figuring out different spellings for permit as a noun and permit as a verb would be a tad tricky as they sound so alike. These noun-verb heteronyms, as I like to call them, are also pretty easy to understand based on context alone, unlike some other non-noun-verb heteronyms out there. If I somehow became the king of language, then without a shadow of a doubt, I would ban all heteronyms. But like the crooked king I would inevitably become, I would probably let these noun-verb kind of heteronyms slip back into usage. But if I decided to be a really strict king and ban all heteronyms with no exception, then what would happen to these words? I guess they would have to fall in line with the other instances of nouns being used as verbs. We could spell and pronounce them the exact same way all the time, like project being the same regardless of it being a noun or verb. Or we could really mix things up and add suffixes to many of these verb forms to make them sound way more unique. Project could stay as a noun, but as a verb we could instead say projectify, like I had to projectify my voice when reading my class project. This does the trick, but to us right now it sounds a little off. Mainly because projectify is not a word in our lexicon right now. Given enough time, I'm sure it'd feel right at home. We could also do things like add accent marks to these words when written as either a noun or verb, or change the spellings entirely. I've been racking my brain trying to figure out a different way to spell project based on its noun and verb pronunciations respectively, but nothing's coming to mind. If you can think of one, please let us know down in the comments below. But then again, maybe we don't need to do anything about it. Despite how tricky heteronyms can be, they also tie into the general ridiculousness that is the English language. Something I, and many others, are weirdly proud about for this near universal language. So when it comes to ditching these heteronyms, I refuse. No, wait, hold on, that's the food waste kind of refuse. I mean, I refuse. Gosh, that is annoying. Maybe we should get rid of them. Name Explain depends on viewers like yourself supporting the channel financially on Patreon, so a huge thank you to everyone who does. Donating just $1 a month helps the channel amazingly and gets you bonuses including ad-free videos, exclusive content, the power to request ideas to be made into actual Name Explain videos, and your name at the end of the video with all these awesome people. Visit patreon.com/NameExplain or click the link down below to find out how you too can support the channel. Thank you. Thanks for reaching the end of the video. Why not watch another and subscribe to keep up to date on all things Name Explain. You can find myself on Instagram where I'm NameExplainYT and join the Facebook group Friends of Name Explain to talk with myself and other name nerds. All that will be linked down below. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and once again, thank you all so much.